This podcast is part of E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience. David Housel said it best, the whole of the Auburn experience. It includes a variety of many things and people and places. When you cut it to its core, it's all about sports. It's all about our culture. And of course, it's all about our family. And because it's all about the Auburn family, we got to bring in one of those Auburn family members to join me, your host, Kyle, alongside me as always for 16 episodes now, my co-host and yours, Mr. Austin Scott. Austin, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Kyle. War Eagle, you said it best, as you do always. The whole of the Auburn experience takes into so many things. We can get frustrated with family, right? We can get frustrated when they don't do as well as we expect them to, even on a basketball court. And we like to welcome new people into the family, and we'll talk about all of it a little bit tonight. And the things never stop. We're 16 episodes in, and we really haven't had a slow week, have we? In the Auburn family?
Honestly have not had a slow week, and I'm kind of shocked at that because it felt like for a while there, while we were seeing the waning moments of the Brian Harsin era die off and go off into the sunset, that I was like, this is ever going to get better. We were always looking to basketball. It's like, it's coming. It's almost there. It's off on the horizon. And then lo and behold, we got a little bit interesting, Caddy and now Hugh Freeze and everything that comes with a new, even if it was outside of those names, new coaches, recruits coming in, getting excited about all those kind of things. Yeah. Let me start off with this. I got one question for you, Austin Scott. Are we done yet?
Are we done yet? That is not a question I answer. That is one only Mr. Trovon Reed can answer these days.
Can we talk about the official best thing that's happened since Cadillac Williams was, and no shot at Hugh Freeze here, at anybody else thus far, anything else great that's happened. But can we just say the best thing that's happened in the last few weeks is that Trovon Reed is going to remain on staff?
It's absolutely fantastic. Couldn't happen to a better person. And it only keeps that energy going. And I'm happy for him and happy for Auburn, because that benefits Auburn no matter who's head coach.
Can I pull the curtain back a little bit? You can end it if you don't want me to talk about it. But you know Trovon pretty well, from what I understand.
Yes.
Well enough.
Yeah. Trovon and I got to know each other while working at a local radio station part-time in Auburn when he moved back to the area. And after his playing days were done. And so we've gotten to know each other a good bit, worked on some really, really fun things together, some weird things together. Occasionally a Trovon Reed t-shirt you see was designed by myself. We've worked on shorts. We've worked on everything. And so that guy and I I wouldn't say we're tight, but we're buds, and we'll hit each other up every now and then. So I'm really glad to see he's staying around. A lot of people want that guy on their staff, and for him to remain true to Auburn, and has a great story of how he entered the Auburn family. But yeah, love that guy. Love that he's sticking around, and not surprised at all that Hugh Freeze saw him as an asset to this program.
I remember, I think it was 2 days ago now. Maybe it was yesterday. I can't remember. I was just so excited when the news came and he had posted himself. He posted, again, the family-friendly version of, of that. What's that movie again? The Wolf of Wall Street.
Yes.
And I'm not leaving. I'm not bleeping leaving. I saw that and I just jumped up instantly and started cheering. And so we tweeted out to him and said, I have one question. Are we done yet? And he just responds back with that gif of the guy just shaking his head. Yeah. I think it's I'm blanking on everybody's name. It's from the sports show.
That's Shannon Sharp.
Thank you, Shannon Sharp. Yeah, I knew it was an S, and it was right there on top of my tongue. But anyway, so excited that Trovon Reed is going to be part of the staff. He's going to, I guess, remain in the role that he currently is in, which I think is obviously working really great for us, recruiting wise and being part of the staff development stuff. So those are just one of the small things that have been happening over the last couple of weeks. So what we'll probably spend the rest of our time in this segment talking about in the next one is a lot of the coaching stuff. So let's put the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator talk to the side for just a second, because I know that's where a lot of people would like us to go in this discussion. We have had a lot of staff members unofficially, but officially, or however you want to switch that around, brought in. We know they're official because they have it in their social media accounts. We've seen them in photos recruiting with Hugh Freeze, unless it is the biggest scam that's ever been pulled. They're just not listed on the directory as of the podcast that's being recorded right now. But they're official. We've done videos about them. Austin, thoughts on some of those position guys that really stick out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think like you said, there's some guys that we know they're out recruiting, and that's good. It's I think the Brian Harsin era, it was like we're gonna put each one out as it comes, kind of generate that excitement. This is a little bit different. Looks like it all might come together once it's all done, but it's hard to hide when you got to get guys out there recruiting. And I don't think it's meant to hide, but I think it's just a different way of doing things. I think we all expected, no matter who you get, they bring guys in they're comfortable with or where they've been before. So we've seen a couple Liberty guys reportedly coming to Auburn. Defensive line coach, I think Jeremy Garrett, is that correct, Kyle?
Yep, he was one of the first ones that was like, rumored, and then it became pretty evidence. So I've been snooping and spying on people's social media accounts way too much. I feel like the biggest stalker ever, and I know I'm not the only one that does that out there, but just you feel kind of greasy sometimes when you're doing what I do, and you have to just kind of glean any information that you can in any way that you can. It's like, oh, so this is what a stalker feels like,
Yes,
it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
But an impressive guy, has a lot of defensive line experience, and so I think he's exciting. A couple other Liberty guys that Coach Freeze has brought with him. I don't think anybody can not talk about the staff and not bring up the fact that Wesley Crime Dog McGriff is coming back to Auburn.
There is something in the water at Auburn, and that man loves it.
He loves it, and his family loves it. His kid loves it. They're pumped, and so I'm really glad he's come back. The first ever assistant to come back to an Auburn for a third time.
Can we confirm that? Is
that's confirmed? The first assistant to come back to Auburn for a third time as a on-field position coach.
Okay, there you go.
Like Will Muschamp was a GA and has been back several times as defensive coordinator, blah, blah, blah. But on field, which is that's awesome to me. And that guy is so valuable in recruiting, and has been around the game a long time, and is just a personality that, I mean, you put him and Zach Etheridge together on the trail, and that recruiting is going to pick up like we've all been hoping for. So
right.
I'm excited. I'm excited that he's back. And then obviously the guys that we've had that we're all fan favorites over there staying. We've talked about Cadillac being retained. We've talked about Zach Etheridge and Christian Robinson, I think, is a great guy to retain too. So a couple more holes still out there to fill.
Right.
But it looks like a staff that is impressive so far, and we'll see how it gets going once it's all put in place.
I don't so far, and we'll talk about the OC and the DC in just a second. They're reported as of the moment of this podcast, reported OC and DC. To me, this doesn't scream like home run hires in terms of PR perception. But, that's just a term that's thrown around a lot. Everybody thought that Derek Mason was a home run hire. And frankly, I believed it as well at the time because it had the biggest name out there. And, he was a recent head coach in the SEC. So we've done that. It didn't work out so great. Maybe it's nice to kind of find some of these guys that are a little bit, less well-known. I think the biggest one so far, as you brought up, was Wesley McGriff. The more I look at his resume, the more excited I get about having him back. And it makes me... And yeah, he's had some time in both his previous stints where he's been other places and done other things, but his resume is just so extensive. And so, all over the SEC, all over the ACC, the Big 12 think too. He's got some ties in there, but basically he's been everywhere that you would like an assistant coach to be, to have experience, to have recruiting ties. To me, that's the biggest win perception wise of the staff outside of your coordinators. I frankly am surprised that he's brought over so few Liberty guys, to be honest with you. I mean, what do you think? Was it less or more?
Yeah, I think as coaches, probably I'm surprised it's less, but it sounds like a lot of them are going to be in some analyst roles. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think I'm okay with that. I think that says a lot about him understanding maybe the kind of caliber of coaches and experience he needs as assistant coaches, but seeing those guys as worthy and them still wanting to come, I think that's I don't want to say it's a humble thing, but understanding that you still have some things to work on and you can provide quality influence as an analyst or as a support staffer is big. And so I like I said, I think everyone kind of expects at some point, no matter where your coach is coming from, you're going to bring some guys that you were with and you're comfortable with because you trust them. And I think that's been no different here. And so I'm excited about how it's all been set up really so far. Truly, I can't wait for it to all get in place and kind of look at it all in one on that directory, like you're talking about. Look at it all from one view.
When it's actually official, that'd be nice. So I don't have to sit
That'd
here.
be nice.
Yeah, it would be really nice. Well, let's talk about the big topic that's been out there, especially hours, minutes before. I'd say hours really before we started recording this show. The news is starting to be reported around that the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator have been at least in negotiations, if not already signed, or however you'd like to phrase that. First off, a lot of trepidation about the lack of an OC and DC being in this quickly. Like, there's been some people worried, why did it take so long? Any thoughts on that? Like, were you worried about why it took so long or anything like that?
Not really. I think a lot has been thrown out about kind of him saying, Coach Free saying in his press conference that he had all these people hitting him up and big names and what he wanted in those coordinators. And I think that's kind of why it took so long. He knew what he wanted in these coordinators, had X's and O guys for defense. And there's a lot to think about for him if he wants to turn over play calling. Like he was very open about that he's called plays everywhere he's been, but here he might not. He might go a different direction. And so all that has to be thought about and make sure you get the right guy. And so I'm not too worried about how long it's all taken, as long as it's right. Like you said a few minutes ago with the home run hires, we did that, and we did win the press conference and win the media circuit, and it didn't last very long for success, and it didn't last very long in the public eye. So as long as it's right, as long as this group gels together and Coach Freeze is happy with it, I'm happy with it, no matter how long it takes. But we're 10 days to the early signing period. For me, it's always been, and this is just my opinion, it's always been important that your assistant coaches are the recruiters and they're the elite guys and they are making those relationships. The coordinator, sure, they need to be involved and be able to talk ball, but their job is game day. Their job is making sure things click and work in practice and everything like that and installing the system. But I mean, these names, I'll let you go ahead and announce those names, those unofficial but official names, Kyle.
Again, I sit on pins and needles waiting. You're risking throwing information out there and it being wrong, and then people just waiting there to like throw it back in my face that it's wrong. But
we've never done that. We've never done that before.
Never once have we thrown anything out there that ended up being wrong in the end, but it was actually true at the beginning. Don't get me down that road again. It's been buried. Don't bring it back up, Kyle. All right. So your new offensive coordinator, reportedly, I say that there, would be Philip Montgomery, and he was previously Tulsa's head coach. He was fired as the head coach before arriving here, and they're reportedly finalizing a deal. Now, let's just start with that. OC, Tulsa's, I remember Tulsa having a pretty good offense for the most part throughout the last couple of years. But that's all I really have to go off of this. Thoughts on that? I mean, here's what I will say. It's a former head coach. Last time we hired a former head coach as a coordinator, that didn't go so well. But I do like the idea of a guy that's had some head coaching experience that's coming in to maybe be having the keys turned over to him. Your thoughts?
And I have a unique perspective with this because prior to Tulsa, Phil Montgomery was the offensive coordinator under Art Briles at Baylor. I don't think I've mentioned this here. My mom is a Baylor alum, and so I've watched.
I'm kidding.
Plenty.
I got Baylor in my family too.
I've watched plenty of Baylor football over the years and kept up with them probably more than the normal Auburn fan would keep up with Baylor football. So I remember Phil Montgomery more as the Baylor offensive coordinator than I do as the Tulsa head coach. And that's when Baylor was doing whatever they wanted on offense with Bryce Petty and Robert Griffin III and all those guys that, they were taking the Big 12 by storm and hitting the top 5, all those things. So for me, I'm excited about that. I'm excited to know that, we all know it takes a lot as a head coach you got a lot more roles than you do as a coordinator. For me, I'm excited to know that he's getting back to that. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to be perfect and we're going to be slinging the ball around and the top 5 offense that was at Baylor just because he's now a coordinator again. And things still got to click and work, and everybody's got to be on the same page. But I'm excited about that. I think he's a great developer of an offense, of quarterbacks. You combine that with Hugh Freeze, who has a similar reputation, and that makes me really excited. I was telling my dad today, I'm just ready for an offense that is clicking again. I'm ready for points on the board and to see us going up and down the field again. It's been a little while. And so for me, Phil Montgomery is one I'm really excited about. Yeah. I don't like saying the home run hire. I don't like that lingo just because that's someone's opinion. What does that mean? Does it mean home run hire in the media circuit, or does it mean home run hire because it's actually going to work? No one can know that on day one. So I'm really excited about it, and I think it can be really successful just based off of what I know of him and what I've seen in the past. So we'll see. I'm pumped about it, though, and it could be really good. We think about with the Briles offense, everyone remembers, well, the current Briles offense was the Tennessee offense this year, who was just putting up points left and right. And it's all, like I said, I don't want to sit here and say Auburn's going to be scoring 50 points a game next year. It's all got to click.
That's it. I'm taking that clip right there and posting it so that people can come back next season and be mad at you.
Disclaimer. But we'll see. I mean, that would be that's what Auburn people want, is exciting offense again. And I feel like that's what it has been lacking for a few years. So we will see. I'm excited about Phil Montgomery.
Do you know how many times, Austin, over the past 2 years, I've been in the stands most of the time, or on my couch doing this, the Gus Malzahn, for people listening and in the actual audio podcast, doing the Gus Malzahn pointing to the ground, like go, or doing some version of
moving your hands. Yep.
Listen, I don't care how fast your offense is as long as it's productive, but that's what I like. I like fast pace. We get, several plays off a game. This whole let's line up, check it out. Do I need to check down? Oh, look, it's 10 seconds left on the clock. It's giving extra time for offensive linemen that are prone to jump off sides some more. So for me, I'm really wide open because I've been lamenting about offense. And that's not a reflection on how Brian Harson's offenses did, more so my preferred style. So if that's the case, I'm going to be really excited about that. Let's spend some time really quickly talking about the reported defensive coordinator, Ron Roberts. Ron Roberts has also got some ties to Baylor as the defensive coordinator for the past 3 seasons. And then they had some pretty good success under him, but he was also fired on December 1st. So you see the word fired next to 2 guys' names, and you're kind of like, oh, that hurts. But everybody's been fired at some point. I mean, frankly, Hugh Freeze he resigned technically. So, but we're not going to get back into that. Stop opening doors tonight, Kyle. What are you doing? My goodness, behave. Ron, got myself thrown off now. Ron Roberts, your thoughts on since you have ties to Baylor, apparently, since you are in the know about all things Baylor, Austin. What do you think about Mr. Ron Roberts?
So Ron Roberts, like you said, fired by Dave Aranda at the beginning of the month. Kind of surprising.
Think when Dave Aranda fired him, he even showed any emotion? Have you ever watched Dave Aranda? It's just like his face never parts up one way or down way to make a frown or a happy face. It's just,
I saw a video actually today on Twitter of Dave Aranda, and I just searched his name, and it was a clip from one of their games in October, but it said Dave Aranda is fired up in all caps, and he was just clapping. It was like that was enough emotion for him.
It's like you walk into his office, if he's smiling, you should be worried. So go ahead.
Yes. So Ron Roberts was actually Dave Aranda's boss a long time ago, and mentored him in defensive schemes and safeties, and then now has been Dave Aranda's defensive coordinator for the last couple of years. So, I mean, a long relationship and tough to fire your mentor and friend. But I think, Ron Roberts interviewed at Arkansas for their defensive coordinator job. This coaching carousel was wanted at Georgia Tech, a respected person in the defensive world. And so I think it could be good for Auburn. We go back to Coach Freeze's press conference talking about a defensive coordinator. He wants an X's and O's guy, a guy who's going to line it up, play it like it is, and stick to it, play solid defense. And I think you're getting that with Ron Roberts. Like I said, it all has to work out and it all has to stay. Everybody has to walk in a straight line and get where they're going on time. But from the outset and from, the mere hours that we're all kind of getting used to this news that Ron Roberts might be Auburn's defensive coordinator, seems like Coach Freeze got what he wanted, got somebody that is highly respected in the college football world. So I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty excited about Ron Roberts and intrigued. I'll be honest, I'm not as optimistic and as excited as I am about Phil Montgomery, but that probably just lends itself to a little more unknown and a little more question marks for me with Ron Roberts.
Yeah, I feel the same way about both of these guys. There's just not a lot of familiarity outside of what you said about him. Montgomery having success during his time at Baylor. And I know Baylor had some defensive success at times. I think they were ranked in the top 10 one season in terms of efficiency or something like that. I forget the stat at this point. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Coach Freeze took his time with these guys. Obviously, there's some interesting connections, whether it be, at that time, Art Briles and the time from the offense with Phil Montgomery, just being connected with Baylor overall is interesting. I wonder if this is now going to become the Iowa State for us, because we can't it's like for some reason, Auburn in general can't break away from the connective tissue of Ole Miss and Iowa State. We go get ADs from there. We go from one of the two places, we go get head coaches from there, presidents from Iowa State. Apparently now we're going to be going to Baylor. There's an offensive coordinator at Baylor I would have really liked to come back, but hey, beggars can't be choosers at this point, I guess. Here's what I do know, Austin, to round out our conversation. I do also have two brothers they went to get their master's degrees at Baylor, and they will not let you stop knowing about that. Y'all Baylor people are some weird people. Of course, I know that people said about that. I will be blaming you two, my brothers. I'm looking at you on the camera right now if this fails, because it's got Baylor written all over it. So,
my mom, I've already sent them both to my mom. She's super excited. She loves any Baylor Auburn connection. But Auburn plays Baylor here it's on the books in 2025, I think. Is that right, Kyle?
So we got, hold on real quick doing this next year. We got California, the year after that, Cal, UCLA, Baylor. So it's 5 and 6 years away. So we'll play in Baylor for the first time. So 5 years away, I believe is what it is.
And who knows if all the scheduling that's to come with conferences, if that'll stay on the books, but
probably
I hope it does. With all our family connections, that would be a blast.
Probably not, but will we, even have these guys at this point? Your guess is as good as mine.
Good point.
All right, let's round out our show. We got to talk about some basketball. It is basketball season. There's going to be plenty of time to talk about some more football things as things become officially official. What is officially official is that Auburn cannot not play defense because its offense probably will not keep up. We're not going to break down necessarily the game versus Memphis, but what I wanted to talk about is my experiences. And as I just found out pre-show, because he failed to tell me, which I find oddly convenient, that he was also at the Holiday Hoopsgiving event here in Atlanta, where Auburn and Memphis play each other. There were 3 other matchups on that day as well. I did see somebody on Twitter that stayed for all 4. Like, oh my gosh. Bless you, sir. By the way, they do have bottomless sodas there. Yes. That was going to be one of my big things. Pro tip, just get it at the beginning of the night. And I drank way too much Coke last night. Yeah. But boy, did I get my money's worth. I think I robbed State Farm Arena. Just seriously. I went and bought it. The second I got there, went there and just slurped it down, got another one. So I probably got diabetes now, but
the cups stay so cold too.
They do.
Did you notice that?
And you don't need ice because it comes out cold too. So don't
aluminum cups they're like Yeti cups, but cheaper.
I still got mine downstairs and it's still cold on the counter.
Yeah.
Probably
it was
gross
awesome.
now.
That was a pro tip for sure of the bottomless soda, and that's we don't have to get into all that.
No, but I
I'll
just want to.
nerd out about the food and drinks.
Well, we can, but that's what I want us to talk about, like our experiences there. Because listen, we have done a post-game reaction show about it. We're going to be talking to basketball ad nauseum here as the football news begins to, it will, folks, slowly wane. So there's going to be plenty of the X's and O's, those type of things, and we can touch on it if you want to. But I love this event now. It's been 2 years in a row that I've been to it. The last year's was much better. Auburn versus Nebraska.
Yes.
This is Jabari's like first really, really big game where he was showcased in front of the world outside of Auburn Arena, and he had an outstanding, like I was there in the lower seats because I got offered some tickets, and so I got like right up on the bench and stuff like that. It's awesome. This time around I was way up there. You still can see really good, but you're literally like looking down on the guys like ants now. Not as high as some football stadiums and this far back, but it was definitely a unique experience for a basketball game I haven't quite had in some time. Holiday Hoopsgiving. Usually they get about, I think last year they had about 3 matchups. This one had 4, and there's a 5th one, I think, happening the week from now. It is interesting, though, that they call it Holiday Hoopsgiving, and Thanksgiving was like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't really get the whole marketing scheme behind that, but it is catchy. I'll give them that.
It is. And I love the logos and all that kind of stuff and the concept behind it, because I think this has the potential to be, every year if they can pull it off, and especially if Auburn can stake its claim as a team that needs to be coming there each year. Like I think Clemson was there last year. I think LSU was there last year.
Right.
Basically all the Tiger teams, because Memphis was here this year too.
Yep.
I think Bruce even said that he anticipated playing in it next year with a bigger opponent. Do you remember that? Or
yeah, I remember him saying that this has kind of become a thing, and I remember the thing about a bigger opponent, and people kind of starting to raise their eyebrows at that and see like, oh, who do they already have planned out? But when did this get announced for this year, Kyle? Do you remember
when they announced the matchup?
The Memphis matchup, yeah.
The Memphis matchup, I think what it was is they announced that Auburn and Memphis were going to be playing like earlier in the summer, but it wasn't technically said in Atlanta at a neutral site. Okay. I think there was rumors it was going to be, and then I think that's when it became official. Because I don't know how last year's event went. Maybe they wanted to make sure they were going to have enough interest. Well, let me tell you this, folks. Auburn fans took over that arena, and especially when we lost, they emptied it out. There was nobody there. If you have not learned anything, marketers, corporate office people, for any event out there, if you want to if you want to fill up your arena more than it normally would, put an Auburn team there, invite them to an invitational. I mean, we travel, and Atlanta's so easy. We have a humongous contingent of Auburn fans up here in Marietta, where I am. There's just ginormous amounts of us up here. So I kind of feel like I'm not home, even though I am home. Think about that for a second. But I have so many people, it makes me feel like I'm in Auburn sometimes, because I just drive down and see everybody here. But I love the event. I want them to keep doing it because it's so close proximity, but it's close for people from Auburn, the traditional fan base that is Auburn folks, which is that kind of circle that surrounds to maybe Chattanooga to like just below Nashville, across Alabama into Mississippi, and then, the panhandle of Florida. It's a very reasonable trip. I love it, and I want them to keep doing it. And next time, maybe you can actually tell me that you're coming.
Maybe we'll see about it. But yeah, no, I thought it was a great event, and I thought it was good that they had so many teams that are close by. You could see, I saw every fan base represented, and from Wake Forest, which probably seems like the furthest one away, or maybe
Loyola
Memphis.
Chicago.
Well, there you go.
Loyola I saw two. I saw 2 scarves last night. That's it.
Yep. I saw some scarves. Didn't see Sister Jean. I wonder if she made it, though. I didn't even think about if she was actually there.
I should have gotten a picture. Here's what I do know. They probably put her like far back, because they put Andy and Sonny really far back. Yeah. Like I got to snap a picture of him and shared it to his daughter, because she was asking where he was. And I was like, well, they're back here in the nosebleed. But I was much higher than them. But
At halftime, I saw them. I passed them, and we said War Eagle to each other. But I mean, when you're media, you don't really expect to see the media walk in the concourse with the rest of everybody at halftime just because of proximity and things. But they were going to get themselves, refill their bottomless soda. But I thought it was a great event too. I was on the last row of the lower bowl. And thought it was great seats, and like you said, just tons of Auburn people. Had some Memphis people sprinkled throughout, but
there was a lot of them
sprinkled throughout where we were. Yes, they were definitely on their own side for the majority, but just a great event. And that's a game I think Auburn people have been wanting to play for a while, with just the various recruiting battles between Auburn and Memphis. The obviously Memphis has this century history that's pretty rich in basketball. And so, yeah, it was something I think Auburn people wanted to play for a while. I hate they couldn't get it because I really wanted to win that game. But like you said, the defense, which has been just stellar, just couldn't get it done and didn't have as much help from the offense this time.
Or hope.
Yeah, I think that was a wishful thought there.
It was a Freudian slip. That was true.
That's the term I was trying to think of.
Words are hard, Austin, especially on the podcast.
It's so hard, man, when you're on the spot. But
so, yeah.
I mean, Coach Pearl said it in the press conference. We could probably have won if we held Auburn or Memphis to 82, right? But we can't win when we score 73. And that sounds so simple, but it's the truth.
Well, and so that, not just talking about this specific event, that's going to be the formula for Auburn going forward. Is they're going to have to figure out a way to get that offense going a little bit more. So on those nights where the defense hasn't got it going as it did, or they can't get the adjustments made that they need to make. Frustrating to watch. Still had a great time at the event with Auburn fans packing it out, and I hope we get to do it again next year, because even though the ticket prices were more this year, I still am glad that I got to do an experience with the Auburn family, because that's what this show is about. Always talking about the experience with each other around sports, and even when it's not around sports. Well, that's going to do it for episode 16. Thank y'all so much for tuning in today. We covered a lot: coaching searches, celebrating new coaches, and asking if we're done yet. Probably not. Thanks to Trovon Reed. Don't do that. See, this is why, folks, on the audio podcast, you need to come and watch the live recording too, because you miss things like that. Despite all that, we appreciate you being here. Austin, if they want to catch up with you on social media, where can they find you?
Oh, Austin G. Scott is about where I am on everything. Tried to stay off the social media profiles for as of late, but too much happening in the Auburn world to not be excited. So come find me. Let's talk.
Exactly. You can find me on Twitter as well at Kyle Loomis. Kyle Loomis? Who is Kyle Loomis?
Who's that?
Kyle Loomis 24. You can find me there and make fun of me for not being able to talk, just like Austin on a podcast. Until we talk to you guys again, thanks for tuning in. War Eagle. War Eagle.